The rain had just begun to fall over Paris, light and delicate, like a whisper from the sky. Mira sat at a small outdoor table at a quiet cafe near the Seine, her fingers wrapped around a warm cup of coffee. She had always dreamed of coming to Paris, of getting lost in its streets, of letting the city seep into her skin and fill the empty spaces inside her. But she hadn't expected to be here alone. A breakup, a shattered engagement, and the overwhelming need to escape had brought her here. She had no plan, no itinerary, just a camera, a notebook, and a desperate longing for something new. It was in that moment, as she absent-mindedly flipped through the pages of an old poetry book, that she first saw him. He was reaching for the same book, fingers brushing lightly against hers. "Sorry," he said with a small smile, pulling his hand away. He had dark eyes, the kind that held secrets, and a quiet confidence that felt effortless. "No problem," Mira replied, glancing up. She was expecting him to take the book and walk away, but he lingered. "You read Baudelaire?" he asked, his accent faintly British, though there was something else mixed in, something European and unplaceable. "I'm trying to," she admitted. "My French isn't great." He smirked. "A lover of poetry, yet a stranger to the language? Paris must be both enchanting and frustrating for you." She laughed softly. "You have no idea." He extended a hand. "Adrian." "Mira." "Mira," he repeated, as if tasting the name. "Would you mind if I joined you?" She hesitated for only a second before nodding. Something about him intrigued her, and she was too exhausted from heartbreak to resist a good conversation. That was how it started. A simple meeting, two strangers sharing a table, a book, and the kind of easy conversation that only happens in a place like Paris. One coffee turned into a walk along the Seine, then a late lunch at a tiny bistro where Adrian introduced her to dishes she couldn't pronounce. He spoke of art and literature, of hidden places tourists never saw, and Mira found herself wanting to know more. They spent the next several days together, exploring Montmartre's winding streets, visiting obscure bookstores, and lingering in museums long after closing time. He never asked about her past, and she never asked about his. It was as if they had silently agreed that Paris was its own reality, separate from whatever lives they had left behind. One night, as they stood on the Pont des Arts, the city glowing around them, Adrian turned to her. "What do you want, Mira?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" "From life. From yourself. From this trip." She exhaled, watching her breath fade into the cool night air. "I don't know anymore. I thought I knew once. Love, stability, a life that made sense. But now, I just want to feel something real again." He studied her for a moment, then reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a small notebook. Flipping to a blank page, he handed it to her. "Then write it down. Right now. What you want. Don't overthink it." Mira hesitated, then took the pen. After a moment, she wrote a single line, "To be surprised." Adrian smiled when he saw it. "Good. That's a start." The next morning, they planned to meet at their favorite cafe for breakfast before Mira had to catch her train to Nice. But when she arrived, Adrian wasn't there. She waited. 10 minutes. 30. An hour. She tried calling him, but his number no longer worked. The hotel where he said he was staying had no record of him. It was as if he had never existed. Mira left Paris that evening, confused, heartbroken, and feeling like she had woken from a dream she wasn't ready to leave. But a week later, back home, she received a postcard. It was from Paris, with no return address. The front showed an old sketch of Montmartre, the very street where they had first walked together. On the back, only 3 words, "Find me here." Mira's hands trembled as she held the card. Adrian was still out there, and he wanted her to come back. With her heart pounding, she booked the next flight to Paris. The moment she landed, she set off in search of the place from the postcard. It was an art studio tucked away in a quiet part of Montmartre. Inside, canvases lined the walls, all filled with sketches and paintings of the same woman, her. Mira felt the air leave her lungs. Some were drawn from memory, others from photographs she had never seen. Adrian had been sketching her long before they had even met. A soft voice behind her broke the silence. "I was hoping you'd find me." She turned, And there he was. Adrian looked the same, yet different, tired, hesitant. "Why did you leave?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He sighed. "Because I was afraid. Because I didn't want you to see me like this." Mira stepped closer, her pulse racing. "Like what?" Adrian hesitated, then reached for her hand, pressing it against his chest. Beneath the fabric of his shirt, she could feel it, the faint, irregular rhythm of his heart. "I have a heart condition. It's getting worse. I didn't want you to get attached only to lose me." Tears pricked at her eyes. "You don't get to make that choice for me." He swallowed hard. "I know, and I regretted it the moment I let you go. That's why I sent the postcard. I needed you to know the truth." Mira looked into his eyes, searching for the words that didn't need to be spoken. She had come back for him, and she wasn't leaving again. Without another word, she kissed him. Paris, with all its mystery and magic, had given her exactly what she had asked for. She had been surprised,